Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Cats and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby.
Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy?
Well, there are definitely some crazy things to talk about tonight here on Cats and Cosby. And joining us in studio, John, we have with us Judge Richard Weinberg. We also have Craig Eaton, and we have Michael Cohen.
Yoo-hoo.
And Michael, this is, talk about crazy. I don't even know where to begin. By the way, there's another thing that just broke a little bit ago, that he was invited to, this is Mayor Mondani, speaking of crazy, he was invited to the National Holocaust Memorial Council, publicly invited him to tour the museum, and he hasn't gotten back to them. So, I mean,
he's very busy. He's very busy now sending out these letters. Rita, John, I am, to say the least, beyond furious.
Yeah, you received a letter. So tell us about the letter that you got.
I wish I could actually speak the way I want to speak, which I have to reserve for my podcast portion because I don't want to get John in trouble over here.
Don't hold back. Don't hold back.
Well,
don't
I have
hold
no
back.
choice.
So you got a letter yesterday, right, Michael
So
Cohen?
I came home from work yesterday only to be handed from, the folks that work, at the building, my mail. And I see something coming from the city of New York. It says urgent on it. Well, I open it up and I take a look at it. And it's telling me that I now have to provide proof that I am a resident of my own home. I have to provide them documentation. Otherwise, I am subject to this pied-à-terre tax.
John, isn't it? Wait a minute. Before I get further, the fact that
I didn't get the mail yet in my apartment.
I know. By the way, I was wondering, John.
And
too.
what I found most interesting was the timing of it, as if they didn't realize that people who are living in higher end apartments may not be in New York at this present time. They may be in Europe enjoying the month.
Right. It's August. It's heading into August.
Right.
July, August, big vacation time. Right.
Not splitting their time.
Yep.
Not applicable to the tax.
And so all of a sudden, now you're going to come back. It's going to be too late. And by the way, it's not an easy thing to fill out. People think that, you just turn around and say, no, this is my primary residence. Let me show you how you would know. First of all,
tell us what they were asking for, because this is the big jaw dropper.
So I go ahead, I go onto the website. It gives you a very special ID code for yourself. It gives you then the prompts. You need to put in your name, your address, your date of birth, your social security number. I'm like, it's a lot of information to be asking. No problem. Then they ask you for a copy of your ID. They ask you as well for a secondary proof. Then they want your tax return. And on top of all of that, they want your phone number. They want everything. And because many people have, like I do, I own my apartment in a Cupid trust for my children. Well, they now want a copy of the trust.
That's amazing, John.
I'm going to do the same thing. Whatever homes I have, I'm going to put it in my kids' names, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm going to ask another question. I was on Fox this morning on Maria's show, Maria Bartiromo's, and the other question is that the people in City Hall said it's a requirement by the state. We have to disclose the names. But what I understand is a requirement by the state normal course of business to have a record of every owner. But what they did is specifically put only the people with $5 million homes and $1 million homes. So it's not a requirement by the state to put $5 million homeowners in the newspaper.
Correct. Not only did they go ahead and they do that, which is technically I've been doxxed by the far left.
That's what I was wondering, harassment.
Sure, I've been doxxed by the far right, and now I've been doxxed by my mayor. I mean, I can't catch a break. If you think, I am so freaked out right now thinking about Mayor Mamdani. We're talking about a Democratic socialist who has a hatred for anybody who has a dollar to their name, having all of this private information on me.
You know what, Craig Eaton, you're a great attorney. What do you think when you hear this is shocking? And also what's shocking to me, and I was getting at this before, is the burden, it sounds like, Michael, is that they're saying you prove you're a resident. I mean, as opposed to, shouldn't it be, we're saying you're a second home? I mean, it's like they're trying to flip the switch.
By the way, nothing for nothing, I've only been paying city tax as a resident since 1992.
I mean, it's almost like incredible. An invasion of your right to privacy. I mean, giving all this information out on one piece of paper or on an email or a website or whatever that so many people have access to, they can take that information and do whatever they want with it. It's so dangerous.
It seems to me un-American.
As an attorney, when I fill out forms and they want Social Security numbers, I give the last 4 numbers for my clients. I never give all the Social Security numbers because you don't know where that winds up. It winds up in a garbage pail in front of their office one day that people start picking through it for information.
And that's particular, by the way. Look what else he did. First of all, these notices that Michael was talking about coming from the State Department of Finance. Okay, it's a governmental body. But why did Mamdani think it was necessary to post it on the internet for everybody to see and identify all these hundreds and thousands of people?
And not only that, Judge.
Apartments.
Judge, it came after. Let's not forget the whole thing that sort of started it was that crazy video that the mayor did in front of Ken Griffin's home, saying this is Ken Griffin's home. So now he just did the same thing, put a big old billboard and said, let's go outside their home.
This is class warfare.
Exactly.
This is the old Maoist trick to humiliate, demean people, demonize people, and then go after them, make them the piñata. That's what this is all about. That's what this mayor is doing at this time. He's making the middle class and upper middle class people who make this city successful, he's making them the villains.
Yeah, it's unbelievable division. And it sort of fits also, Judge, with all the stuff that we know that he said about Netanyahu. Now he's not even responding to the Holocaust Museum.
Well, is Vito calling in later on? Vito
we'll hopefully get Vito later on.
Of Staten Island, that was here the other day, says that he got a letter, and it's not even him.
Yeah, right. It was his father's place. Like he said, they're accusing me of having a second home. Turns out it was my father's place, and it's in the city.
Here's the problem,
and he was getting harassed too. They're saying, they're like, wait a minute, what are you going to do? Ba ba ba, and he's like, this isn't even me.
But the part that's the most infuriating is you have no choice but to comply. There is no option other than to comply, because if you fail to comply, the penalty to you on that tax is so enormous that it makes actually living in New York even more difficult. I mean, we pay city, state, federal. I mean, now they ran out of money because they're completely incompetent. What do they need to do? They already hit us with congestion pricing. They've basically out-taxed the people of New York, so they're trying to find another way how to raise money.
Right, and they're creating incredible division.
And where was the governor to protect us against this craziness?
Well, she's supporting Mamdani. She was one of the first people who folded like a cheap suit and supported Mamdani, so she's not going anywhere.
If they push this through a left-wing legislature, she should have vetoed it and fought it, because this is very bad for the future economic viability 100%. And the cultural viability of this city.
100. And you look at some of the numbers out there. I mean, there are billions of dollars that are fleeing New York. You guys, let's go, if we could, to Professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, let's continue the conversation from a legal perspective. Is there anything that homeowners can do who are now suddenly put on this public list that they own a second home? Some of them don't even own that second home. I mean, is there something legally they can do? They're, getting harassed or getting bothered. Now they're publicly, quote, shamed by a mayor.
Well, of course there is. You can do a class action, and there will be a class action. I assure you there'll be creative lawyers who will come up with a way of challenging some of these extreme measures, particularly the penalty phases and the inability to challenge them in a careful and coherent way. So, yeah, there's undoubtedly there'll be challenges. And the question is whether the challenges will go into state court, which they probably have to go into first, and then perhaps into federal court. but there will be challenges. And will the state courts be up to standing up to Mamdani? Look, the ultimate goal, we're not going to get rid of Mamdani now for a while. The goal is to get elected a governor who will take on Mamdani. And, of course, the governor has the ultimate authority even to remove him. And so it's so important that the right person be elected governor, and the current governor is not the right person.
But, Alan, there's one problem here. You have till August 21st or 23rd within which to respond. Otherwise, you're deemed to be in default.
Well, the first action that any class action lawyer should take would be to seek a stay and to seek status quo, not allow any of those penalty provisions to come into play while it's being litigated. And I think that could be a winning proposition. I'd be happy to consult with any lawyer who wanted to bring such an action. My wife and I own a condo in New York, not a particularly expensive one, but a condo, and our residence is in Florida. So I suspect we're subject to this as well. So, we could be plaintiffs as well. But I'm sure there'll be good class action lawyers who will be bringing this lawsuit. And the first demand has to be for a stay so that the August 27th deadline is postponed.
Well, I'm truly happy to be the named plaintiff in this. I have the documents, I have the verification and the proof. I have lived in New York City since 1992. I don't have a second home. I don't have a home in Florida or outside of the state. I just don't. It is the most violative.
And are you on the list?
I am. I received the letter yesterday.
He got a letter yesterday. And ask for it. Tell him again. And actually, Professor Dershowitz, Michael, tell him again what they were asking for in the letter.
Your name, your address, your email, your phone number, your social security number. They want, on top of that, your tax returns, and they want a copy, because I hold it in a Cupid trust for my children. They want a copy of the trust documents.
Well, technically, of course, they can't ask for your social security number. When Social Security numbers were given out, the law was passed that they can't be used for purposes other than what they were intended for. But that's just a minor point. The major point is you're a victim of mistaken accusation, and you have a right, obviously, to challenge that, and you'll win. I mean, if you don't have a second home, you're going to win. But that won't be a big enough victory. The biggest victory will be for people who do have second homes and are challenging some of the procedures whereby they're not allowed to question things. So, look, there are lawyers who specialize in this. I'm not one of them, but to the extent there are constitutional issues, I'd be happy to confer with any law firm or lawyer who wants to challenge this, because I certainly don't agree with it.
And we also have Craig Eaton.
Yeah, Professor, I just looked it up on the city website, and it says if you received a letter from the Department of Financing indicated that you may be subject to it and believe you are exempt, you must respond by the deadline. So they are offering people the right to claim an exemption. So,
but the only way you get that exemption
if you give all this
is
information.
if you give all that information. And I'm not comfortable, Professor. I am not comfortable in giving all of my personal information to a democratic socialist who has made it a vendetta against anybody who has a dollar.
Yeah, your reaction,
besides
Professor.
That, you're Jewish.
Yeah, Jewish.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And of course, many of us, like me, are away from. I don't live in New York over the summer, and so if I got a letter, I haven't seen it. It's probably stuck in some mailbox somewhere, and I don't get back to New York until well after the deadline. So I may inadvertently be in violation of something. Look, the whole thing has been done in a socialist way. That is, we don't care about your rights. We only care about what we want. And we're not going to give you due process of the kind that we would ordinarily expect in the United States of America, even in New York.
So, by the way, on another front, and we're going to have Fernando Mateo on later, who represents with the bodega workers, all of those bodegas.
But I understand that Vito just heard us talking.
Yeah, he's calling in shortly.
Vito Fasella, who got a letter, and it's not even his home.
Yeah, it's his father, right. Yeah. It's like he's calling in a little bit, John. Yeah. He's not here yet. But John, also, we do have Fernando who's going to call in later, too. And it's a separate matter, which I think is interesting from a legal perspective. I'm looking at all the great attorneys here. The other issue is these grocery stores. These are the taxpayer-funded grocery stores, which John so eloquently was talking about on Fox News this morning. And now there's a group of immigrant-led businesses that are planning to sue Mamdani, saying it's going to hurt their businesses because it's alleging unfair competition. Talk about, do they have a suit there?
They do, undoubtedly. To the extent we believe in a free market economy and our state and federal constitution protects the right of property, you can make an argument that it protects the right of property from unfair competition from the state. The state doesn't have to do certain things and pay certain things, so the competition is unfair. Look, this is a paradise for property lawyers. They're going to have such a ball challenging all of these things, and for the next 2 or 3 years, we'll see case after case after case being litigated, and they'll probably go both ways, and then ultimately it'll have to go to the Court of Appeals in Albany, and then maybe to the federal courts. And we're not going to see a resolution of this thing for the next few years. In the meantime, people are going to have all kinds of problems, and there's all kinds of mistakes that are occurring. So, this is what happens when you vote for a socialist.
And what happens when somebody like myself with OCD, who feels the need to go ahead and to do it literally hours after I receive the letter? Imagine, I didn't have the documents. Professor, I did not have the trust documents. I couldn't find them. So I reached out to the lawyer in order to send me. Of course, it was 10 o'clock at night. I'm still waiting for them. Otherwise, I would have probably sent the information in. What about anybody who puts information into a system, especially that's in the hands of a democratic socialist, a communist?
Yeah, no, it's very troublesome. I mean, the first thing that socialists and communists want to do is gather information on people so that if they take the next step, they have the information necessary to take the next step. We know this is happening now in some universities that are being asked, for example, to provide lists of Jewish students. And some universities have said, no, we're just not going to do that. We don't trust you with a list of Jewish students.
Well, in other words, if you turn in all the documents, that everybody will know exactly where you live and who you are and if you're Jewish or not.
Yeah, and how much you make, have, and and how much your property is worth. Now, you can find out today on various websites how much property is worth, but it's only a rough estimate. Here, you're getting people's own assessment of what their property is worth. Look, it's too darned intrusive, and that's not the role of government, to intrude into the lives of everybody. I think one of you smart lawyers, and don't forget, I'm only a grocery man.
You're an honorary
I'm an honorary lawyer, but only a grocery man.
The most important thing a lawyer can have. You're a client.
Now,
I'm disbarred. I'm disbarred.
I think you have to find a way to get into federal court.
And I'm sure they're working on it. And if anybody wants to call me on it, I'm happy to help out. I know a little bit about how to get it to federal court. And
Alan, is it better to do federal court or state court?
Vito is on. Let's put Vito on. Vito Fasella, borough president of Staten Island.
Yeah, tell us what happened.
Mr. Borough President Vito Fasella, tell us what happened to you.
Well, actually, good to be with you all. As I left the show last night, I got a call from a reporter that said that I was on the list, and I was shocked by it because there was no reason for me to be on the list. And then it turns out that they mixed up my father, who has the same name, in the home I grew up in South Beach and Staten Island, and me. And the bells went off as I've been listening intently to all of you. You've been great covering this. Just think about, I'm a public official. The reporter calls me. You're on the list. What about the poor, 78-year-old woman who's by herself who has no clue?
Sure.
And we're getting more and more information throughout the last 24 hours of people who just own one home on Staten Island.
Yeah.
And they're on the list. And it's, to me, as the professor rightly pointed out, to me, it's beyond the pale that they're doing harm. They're creating an enemies list. It's really, really smacks of what.
And they're also defaming you. They're defaming you because you're a public figure and you reside in New York. And they're saying you don't reside in New York. That's a libel. That's a slander against you because it would be illegal for you to be the borough president of Staten Island, and what a great place that is, if you didn't live in New York.
Yeah, Vito, that's an interesting thing. Go ahead, respond, Vito.
No, in fact, I might take the professor up on his offer. I'll call him separately because this is rampant. You know, what the city should do right now is pull everything back, not even proper vetting. They're sending signals, aside from the fact that, you used to have the American dream, right? You work to get a home. Now you have a home, they want to punish you. They're almost saying, like, that's the bad guy, and you can't afford a home. Guess what? That guy has two of them. So
that's the culture. That's Vito. That's the culture war that he's launched against the middle class people.
And also,
you're absolutely
if you're
right,
an immigrant
Judge,
and you're trying to live the American dream as an immigrant, and you finally save up enough money to buy a bodega, and you're selling goods, and suddenly who comes along but big Mayor Mondami with the city and puts you out of business.
Vito, did you even have a chance to take a look at what information you were required to send pursuant to that letter, like I did?
Yeah, he had basically his firstborn child, it seems like.
Yeah. And your children, too. By the way, it's anybody that lives in the apartment with you. So I had to give my wife's information, my children's information. I had to give everything, including copies of our driver's licenses and so on.
That's amazing. Vito, did you have...
What if you're living in an apartment with a girlfriend and you don't want your parents to know about the fact that you're living with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you have to disclose that information now, too. What a violation.
I do have to say one thing, that the Jews finally got something right here. We didn't name our children after ourselves with a junior, so they're not subject to it like Vito is. Right?
Good line.
By the way, we finally did something right.
Italians.
All the stupid Jews who voted for Mondami.
Wait.
Exactly.
You guys, hold on a second. Everybody's talking over each other. Let's go to Vito. Vito, what did you have to hand over?
If you want to be comical about it, I could start charging my father rent because they claim I own the home, right? But on a serious note, to Michael's question, I never actually even received a letter. I got a call from a reporter saying, "Why are you on the list?" And to the professor's
the letter is coming.
Yeah, strong letter on the way. What is a strong letter to follow?
Or the letter could already be at the house.
Yes, this is one big cluster. They're hurting. They're intentionally harming people, and there's a pattern and a trend coming out of the city lately where they do not care. There is no back and forth. There is no dialogue. There is no, hey, we made a mistake, we'll pull it back. It is, you are getting this whether you like it or not. And the people of this city and people beyond who are paying attention, they ran Ken Griffin and others, American success stories out of New York City. If they keep doing this, the city's in trouble. And more importantly, innocent people are going to get caught up in this snare, and it's going to be harmful to them, and they did absolutely nothing wrong.
Absolutely. And Professor Dershowitz, final words from you.
Well, I'm wondering if Staten Island would consider leaving New York and establishing itself as a separate state. And you could have a great mayor yourself, and you can do the right thing and have Staten Island serve as a model community to the world.
Well, thank you, Professor, for that. We would be the Hong Kong in the middle of a high-tax area, and we would be a tax haven, attract corporations from around the region, and it would be great. The 51st state of Staten Island. Let's go for it.
All right. Well, you guys, thank you very much,
I think you mean 52nd, by the way. 51st is Canada.
Yeah, that's right.
And 52nd is Greenland.
Yeah, exactly. Vito, thank you. Professor Dershowitz, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And you guys, and John, we're going to take a break. And boy, we thought we had a blockbuster. Waiting to hear from this. Coming up.
Our ratings are double today.
Yeah, triple. Is that a skyrocket? What, to the moon, Alice, right? And we have somebody who has exclusive details about the last election for mayor, some interesting numbers.
And they're claiming it might be a fraud?
Yeah, they're claiming it might be a fraud. Let's see what they have to say after the break.
Common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC. Breaking news, WABC.
And boy, this looks like a bombshell, guys. Joining us now is the founder of Real America Vote and New York Citizens Audit. And it appears that there could be a chance that there were fraudulent votes cast in the New York City mayoral. That's one of the allegations, one of the things looking into. And the big question is, what does that mean about the election of Mayor Zoran Mondani? Well, to describe what she has uncovered is Marley Hornick. Again, she's founder of Real America Vote and New York Citizens Audit. What did you discover? Because you went through a whole bunch, I think about 1 million, right, of the votes.
Correct. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me on to talk about this critical issue.
Marley, call us back. You're breaking up. Call us back. We're going to get you hopefully on a hard line and a better line. But, Judge, you know what's interesting as we're waiting here? She's saying that they identified 230,000 illegal votes, and Mondani only won by a 207 vote margin.
So
That's
what does that tell you? What does that tell you? So it raises real substantial questions whether he's elected legitimately as the mayor of the city. I don't know if the answer is yes. I don't know if the answer is no, but it's a serious question and certainly worthy of investigation. So the question becomes, who's going to do that investigation?
Yeah, that's a big point. And I'd also like to know when we get Marley back, what the 1 million, what about the other 1.2? That's the other question, too, because there's 2.2 million votes.
You're going to have a disparity between the first 1,000,001 and the second group. Let's find out when Marley comes back on.
Yeah, it's an interesting point. I believe, do we have Marley back on? We have Marley. Hey, Marley, go ahead. Start it from the top if you could.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on to talk about this critical study. We discovered, because you see the New York City and the New York State boards of elections are required under the first law we ever passed, the United States Constitution, to qualify every voter according to law. So our audit just asked a question: did they qualify the voters before registering them and counting their votes? And we discovered, using synthetic identity fraud prevention tools, commercial tools, we discovered that 7% of the voters don't exist. 6% of the voters have fake Social Security numbers, according to the SSA website, and 10% of the voters did not live in New York City anytime during 2025. So that's 23% of the vote is flagrantly unqualified, which is a total failure. It's a failure of the New York City and the New York State boards of elections to uphold a simple promise ratified in 1789. I call it the original SAVE Act.
Now, Marley, I have a whole bunch of questions for you. First question is, why did you get access to this? Is this something that other people can get access to? And does the Board of Election know this?
Well, we just asked the Board of Elections through the legal process for copies of the voter rolls and the voter history. So we used their official records. We used the way that they define the voters, the names, the dates of birth, and the voting addresses. And then we work with qualified personnel who look these up in these fraud prevention tools. It's what banks use to do know your customer studies, right? So this is like a know your voter. And those tools are restricted to people who are licensed. So I didn't look at the actual records. The company we worked with, they looked at the records. We did deep verification on our questions. Did they exist? Did they have a real Social Security number? And did they live in New York City? Simple. So that's how we found this out.
And what about the reaction to this? Does the Board of Elections know? What about some of the candidates?
Well, where we brought it immediately, because I've been working for over a year with John Sarcone, a true patriot, the U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of New York. And that's where I brought every single piece of this data. Actually, New York Citizens Audit has been for 5 years asking the boards of elections to fix these problems. And they retaliated against us. They investigated us under the KKK Act with Letitia James. That was 2 years lost on this issue. So at that point, I just turned it all over for investigation and potential prosecution.
So are you saying that the U.S. Attorney in the Northern District has this?
Exactly. Yep. And the Albany FBI office. And you have to remember why they have jurisdiction was because every single ballot for the New York City mayoral election was also a ballot for the statewide ballot initiative, Proposition 1. So every vote counted in New York City was also counted in Albany by the New York State Board of Elections. And it's a fraud. They're not allowed to count votes from voters they haven't qualified. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Was there any federal people running at the same time so it could become a federal item?
Well, there were not federal candidates on the ballot, but there's two ways that it is a federal item, John, and I appreciate that question. That's very astute. First of all, when the right to vote, which is defined by Congress to include the right to have your vote counted in the appropriate totals of votes cast, when that is infringed upon in any way, it's a federal issue. And second of all, because there was a statewide ballot initiative, you also get immediate access or immediate justice under the Voting Rights Act, because that's part of the specific language in that statute.
Let's go to Craig Eaton here.
Issue.
I was the Brooklyn chairman.
You got to turn your mic on.
I was the Brooklyn chairman here for 12, 13 years, and we would see every cycle, whether it was city or state, federal elections. We saw fraud in the voting booths, in the polls. We have dead people voting every year, and some dead people have voted for more than 5 or 6 years. There was a lawsuit that was filed. There was an investigation last year by the feds and the Brooklyn district attorney because of all the fraud in Brooklyn in a city council race. Something needs to be done, and the first thing I think we need to do is we need to get photo ID. You need photo ID before you vote.
Right. Well, the issue is if they don't want to use photo ID, if they want to take everyone's word for it at the polls, then they go to jail, because that's not an effective means of qualifying voters. It doesn't meet the standard they promised they would do in the United States Constitution. Sentence number 2, literally the first thing the founders put in when they were writing this out with a quill pen, right? So I agree. There's tons of fraud. We always hear the stories. You've seen the stories. This makes it very, very simple, because that kind of stuff is really hard to prove. It's really hard to prosecute. It's hard to figure out who was behind it. But this is very simple. New York State and these top level election officials are responsible to that guarantee, and they failed. And that's a crime in this country.
Marty, I got to ask some obvious question. I'm not an attorney, so I'm just asking this as a layperson. When I hear this, the question is, can there be any repercussions? Because if indeed, and then the other question is, what about the other 1.2 million? What about those? I mean, I would assume, do you have access to the rest of them? Because maybe this is the tip of the iceberg. And then can there be anything retroactive? I mean, if it turns out that X amount of people should not have voted, is there a repercussion?
Right. There are repercussions, Rita. And multiple times in our history, about at least 5 times, the United States Supreme Court has upheld criminal conviction for election officials who certified false tallies. So that's actually the method. And think about it for a second. In life, there's 2 ways to come by things. You can work for them or you can steal them. And the only way to keep people from stealing is to make it more painful than working. And that's why the law works this way. The United States guarantees the sovereignty of the citizens over the law. Period. End of story.
Hey, Marley,
can I election officials?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Michael Cohen.
Hey, Marley, can I just ask you a quick question? When we were talking about federal, I apologize. I thought you were finished. But when we go back to federal, can we not turn around and maybe think a little bit out of the box? What if hypothetically people voted by mail? Doesn't that turn it into a federal issue?
It's already a federal issue when the state doesn't qualify the voters. So it doesn't matter how the ballot comes in. If they don't know that ballot came from a qualified voter, then accepting that ballot and counting it is fraud.
Is that postal fraud?
Which is federal.
No, it's election misconduct.
Craig Eaton, you're a lawyer.
I mean, mailing a fraudulent ballot. I mean, people were getting ballots mailed to them for people who died years ago, and they were filling out those ballots and then mailing those ballots in. I mean, that could be a federal offense.
That's a separate fraud.
Yeah, that's a separate fraud.
That's a separate fraud from what Marley is talking about.
So let me ask you,
voter fraud. That's what we call voter fraud.
how do we prove? All right, two things. I'm going back to one other thing. Did the Board of Elections, did they know? Is there someone, do we have proof somewhere that somebody knew they were fraudulent? And is there any way to track down who committed the fraud?
Boy, are you good. You're an honorary lawyer.
I'm an honorary lawyer.
Boy, are you good.
I love it.
She got the A+ in the blue book.
The fraud was ultimately the certifier. Whoever signed the document that said this is all on the up and up, and we know everything that happened in this election, and this is unequivocally the will of the citizens of New York City has been registered here, right? So that's who committed the fraud. And whether or not it was willful doesn't matter, according to a lawsuit from 1888 that the Supreme Court settled, where they said for election officials, failure to do a duty is a crime.
Marley, let me.
This is Judge Weinberg.
Let me broaden this discussion for you. I raised a question, which is, if this was a fraudulent election, how do we go to unwind it?
That's my question.
That's the $1 million.
I don't think you can. It's already been certified.
Well, certified with fraudulent documentation?
Right. If they, that's why she keeps going back, and I understand why you're going back, Marley, too, to why, if it was falsely certified.
It would have to be some kind of a...
No, but the question is, we don't have... Look, what we don't have is we don't have recall elections in New York City. So what I'm saying to you is there a legal remedy, a judicial remedy to unwind that past election if there's documentation there's a fraudulent election?
So, Marley, is there?
Well, it's a really good question. It's never been done before. It would be called a fraud ab initio, right, Judge? And that's how you would get it. But actually, the only way that I'm aware of under New York law to remove Mamdani is for the governor to do that.
That's correct.
Never happened.
That's correct.
Not
this governor.
Never happened.
Not this governor.
You know, just maybe, if in fact that the fraud was demonstrated and she would be under so much pressure. It would be the fire under the backside, so significant.
I agree. If it can be clearly stated and shown.
You need a linkage between this illegal voting
and his knowledge. Yeah, his knowledge of it.
That's right.
Exactly. I mean, regardless, there should be some sort of
whether it's his knowledge or his operatives.
Right.
Some knowledge.
But there should be, even on the broader level, to Marley's point, if indeed there were people illegally, as you're saying, that improperly, and people knew about it or turned a blind eye to it, how is that an honest election? I mean, it's not.
By definition. It's
right,
not.
and it still should come out. So,
Amen.
Marley, you got to get to the bottom of this with us. You've started it.
Keep us posted. We want to know what
Marley.
happens in the next million votes.
Yeah. Marley,
I want to say is,
are you going through the next 1.2? Are you going through the next 1.2?
That depends on, we have a 501c3. It's a tax deductible donation. That depends on people listening. Because
where can they find out, Marley? Where can they find out about you?
realamerica.vote. And I just want to add, I appreciate all the time. This is great. I just want to add that in order to have a fair election in 2026, we have to keep going. We can't let up, because that's the only way. People have to know, first of all, that their vote is going to matter, and then they have to turn out. But they're not going to turn out if they don't think it doesn't make a difference. So we have to fix this and make sure they know that, so that we get a fair election in 2026 and we can fix this beautiful state. And we can send real representatives to the United States Congress from New York with pride.
Bravo. Well, Marley, thank you so much. Thank you for sounding the alarm. That is awesome. You got to come back on again soon. That was great, Marley. Very powerful stuff.
Well,
thank you.
We're going to take a break now, or we're going to have the top news of the day.
Yep.
It's the top news of the day, sponsored by Goya. Here's Rita Cosby.
Well, I did have those Goya beans the other day, and they were delicious. By the way, the breaking news of the day on this possible voter fraud, I did text the U.S. Attorney's Office, and
great,
I'm waiting for an answer back.
Oh, wow. Well, keep us posted. We may have an update as the show goes on, John. Very interesting. Yeah, because she said she has been in touch. And also, as she said, the FBI in Albany.
And the FBI. And the U.S. Attorney's Office is verifying they did meet with her, and that the FBI of Albany was there present.
Wow. So everything she's saying is coming out so far, you guys. Let's see where this goes. That was blockbuster, John, what you just said.
And that was your breaking news.
Yeah, that was breaking. This is also something special to all of us. We all loved Senator Lindsey Graham. And President Trump just eulogized a South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. He gave the eulogy today at the late lawmaker's funeral service in Washington's at the National Cathedral there. It was really powerful. Trump called Graham a beloved friend and a giant of the Senate. And also, just quickly on the weather news, guys, we can all feel the weather is socking everybody. And Governor Kathy Hochul is urging caution ahead of 2 to 6 inches of rain that she says could be heading our way.
That's a lot of rain.
That's a lot of rain. And in a short time, John, too. And Hochul is saying that there will be some extreme weather across the state, including flash flooding, but she says New York City, Long Island, and the Hudson Valley will bear the brunt of it. So stay safe, everybody. And we're going to have much more ahead. We're going to talk to KT McFarland right after the break.
You're commuting home with Cats and Cosby. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back here on Cats and Cosby. A lot of stuff happening with Iran and also with Russia, Ukraine. By the way, there is going to be a vote. It's supposed to take place in about 15 minutes or so from now, guys, on the Russian sanctions. It's going to be in honor of Lindsey Graham. And it is expected. It's a voice vote. And then tomorrow is supposed to be a full vote. That's sort of the plan. And it is expected to pass in the Senate. Let's go to KT McFarland, former Deputy National Security Advisor under President Trump. KT, take it away.
What's happening in Iran now is that every time the price of oil gets to be about $100 a barrel, there's some kind of a ceasefire. The price of oil then goes down to about $80 a barrel. The market rallies. And then within a week or two, Iran violates it or something goes wrong, and then the price goes back up. What's happening now with Iran is that there's a chance of a widening war, which is not necessarily bad for us, but it's definitely going to be bad for Iran. Now, what's happening? So Iran is buying missiles from Russia, is cooperating with Russia in many ways, a lot of trade, and Ukraine has missiles now that can attack those ships. So Iran has said it's going to now attack Ukraine. At the same time, Iran is saying, well, it's going to attack all the other Gulf Arab countries. The interesting thing, and I would just love to have been a fly on the wall with President Trump's meeting with Bibi Netanyahu today, is that the Israelis are ready to go. They're ready to attack Iran. They're just waiting for Iran to attack Israel first, because President Trump, according to my sources and according to news sources, is that the Gulf Arabs have asked President Trump to keep Israel out of it for now. And Iran has not attacked Israel because they know Israel could retaliate, and probably retaliate by killing a lot of IRGC members.
Well, what also about this shipment? Everyone's talking about this shipment that Ukraine took out, a ship that was Russian with Russian weapons, apparently en route to Iran. What do you know about that, and how much does that sort of complicate things?
Well, the complication is that not from Ukraine. Ukraine's drones have gotten very good at taking out ships and taking them out cheaply, not with really expensive weaponry, but very accurately taking them out. And so this is Iran supplying Russia. And Iran has said, well, they're going to now retaliate somehow against Ukraine. Nobody believes it. Nobody thinks they have the capability of doing it. But they continue to threaten and threaten and threaten. The other thing that's happened is that Pickaxe Mountain, which is yet another site where we believe that the Iranians have buried centrifuges, or they've had some kind of nuclear activity. Maybe they had it before. Maybe they've just had a little bit of it, and now they're reinforcing it. But it's now pretty clear that Pickaxe Mountain will be the next military target of the United States when, and I assume when, not if, but when military action resumes.
Yeah, and the question is when, too. I mean, there was some thought that maybe part of it might be waiting because of, obviously, today, Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham.
Yes, and, and obviously the president was very close to Lindsey Graham, gave a great eulogy. I thought it was really powerful to see Zelensky and Netanyahu there and others. I mean, what a statement.
And from everything that friends of mine who have talked to President Trump all the time, and from what I've seen in talking to him, he's been really affected by two things. One was the assassination attempt, obviously, in Butler, Pennsylvania. But Lindsey Graham, who was by all accounts hale and hearty, and then all of a sudden dropped dead. that President Trump has been pretty shaken, thinking about his own mortality, his own legacy. And I think that, first of all, it talks about, the depth of President Trump's sort of soul. We don't often think of President Trump as a man who's articulate and thinks about those things, but he does. And I think, secondly, it's given him a sense of renewed mission that he's going to do what is right for the country, what's right for the world, and he's got to worry about the political consequences to himself and even the physical consequences to himself later.
KT, me and Rita, right after the dinner on Friday night, me and Rita went on at 11 o'clock, and I did say that President Trump was a little bit somber, a little bit, and something was on his mind.
Yes.
Not knowing that he's not going to bomb for another 3 to 4 days.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot going on. He's clearly, as you pointed out when you went on the air, he's clearly, he's sort of not de-energized, because he doesn't de-energize, but he's more thoughtful, he's more careful, he's more somber. I think he's wearing his leadership mantle better now than he has before. But the arguments that people are making, he's delayed the attacks because we're running out of missiles, don't believe that. That's not true. First of all, we can make as many missiles as we want. We just need the defense budget to be approved by Congress, and that should happen. And even if we were running low on some stockpiles, a lot of the weapon systems we've already sold to the Gulf Arab countries. If we were running low, we'll just use theirs. So anybody who gives you that excuse, oh dear, the poor American military is running out of stuff, just don't believe it. That's a lot of inside the beltway.
How did President Trump say that one time?
You're full of.
Yeah, right.
There it is.
Well, I'm going to let you guys repeat that. I'm not going to say. Yeah,
well, we had President Trump say it again.
Here
full
he
of
is.
crap.
That says it all.
I mean, sometimes instead of crying, we laugh a little bit.
Well, sometimes, John, if you have to laugh, or otherwise you'd never stop crying.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
KT, thank you so much. We love having
KT.
you.
Thank you so much.
And you're having that big event for your daughter Thursday night.
That's for Friday night, and I hope to see you there, and I hope to see a lot of people. It's in honor of my daughter who's running for Congress.
Okay.
Right.
Awesome.
Friday night.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you, KT. Awesome. Thanks so much. And you guys, now let's go to Fernando Mateo. And Fernando, we were talking at the top about Mondani and all these now, the government-run grocery stores, taxpayer-funded. What's the impact on bodegas?
Listen, we all realize that this guy is the best marketer in the world. This guy knows how to sell a sheep as if it were a bull. This guy is good. First of all, 5 government grocery stores cannot feed 8 million New Yorkers. It's not a real solution. That's a publicity campaign. It's not a policy. This guy just is telling people what they want to hear, and he's repeating it over and over, and people think it's going to have an impact. Government should not be competing against neighborhood bodegas and supermarkets. These small businesses have served our communities for generations. Instead of competing with them, the city should be helping them, lowering their costs and lowering food prices.
Hey, Fernando, have you heard that there may be some lawsuits coming? Because there's a big story about that there may be a group that may be joining forces to say this is, quote, unfair competition.
You know what? The group that's doing that has no money, and they're just talking nonsense. What we need to do is talk fact, right? And let these people know, let the mayor know that this is not going to happen. It's not going to really do anything.
Hey, Fernando.
Listen,
Fernando, it's Michael.
Yes.
How you doing there, brother? Hey,
Michael, how are you?
I'm doing well. So think about it this way, too. 5 supermarkets that are going to be run by the city of New York. Have you ever seen outside of, for example, like a Nike town when they're releasing a sneaker, a drop sneaker, and the line goes all the way down the block and then around the block and up the block next to it and so on, with tens of thousands of people because they want to get this for this at a low price so that they could either make money on it or have them. Imagine the lines. Imagine the lines around these 5 different supermarkets.
Yeah, Fernando, go ahead.
the visual is going to be a communist visual, a socialist visual. You imagine people waiting online for blocks, and then they get to the front of the line, and whatever they went to buy it ran out.
Right, it'll be like Cuba. Like Cuba.
It's going to be like Russia.
With the ration cards. Here you go.
Standing online for toilet paper.
You're going to have riots. You're going to have the police having to get involved. And he's doing this in communities where trouble sparks at any given moment. He's doing it in communities that people have firearms and they're killing each other over nothing. Can you imagine what the chaos this guy is going to create? Instead of taking those $100 million, giving it to 5,000 or 10,000 bodegas and supermarkets and saying, hey, lower the price by 30% on these items every month and we'll subsidize it for you. That's real business. That's real thought where you can impact a lot of people. You know, this is all, he's a Trojan horse. For those that don't know what a Trojan horse is, you're looking at something that looks great, but in reality, it's not great. It's bad. Okay? Zoran Mandami is an expert at marketing. His people are very smart. Social media, they have everyone wrapped up in social media. And it's just shameful that he's doing this and people are believing it. And then he's got a bunch of idiots around him clapping like if this really is going to make a difference. Listen, this is going to fail, and it's going to fail huge. And he's already saying it. Every month the prices are going to change. Every month we're going to make an adjustment. That's socialism, communism.
Yeah, welcome to New York. Let's go to Craig Fernando. Go ahead, Craig.
There is no reason for our government and our mayor to get involved in the grocery business. And he is going to put out of business all of these people with the bodegas and stores around the city of New York that have come here years ago to feed their family and make a good life for them here. They're going to go out of business because he's going to be competing with them head on.
You know what? 5 stores aren't going to put many people out of business. It won't hurt the ones that are around the stores. It's just going to hurt the poorest communities.
It's great PR. It's great PR for them.
Exactly. It's the best PR. He's a marketer. He's an expert. He's better than Obama. This guy smiles. He lies at you, and he smiles at you at the same time.
You know, Fernando, you made a really great point. You made a tremendously great point where you turned around and you said, it's going to cause fights. So you're going to have people standing online waiting to get in. They're going to say, no, he's with me.
Yeah,
and they're going to say, no, I was here first. It's going to be one of those, like waiting for a sneaker drop or waiting for a ticket drop. 100%.
Michael.
Yep. And his point is it's in bad neighborhoods. Yeah. That's the point.
There's gonna be stabbings, shootings. People are going to be out of control. And for what?
For a tomato.
Because he could do...
No, I just want to know the other thing. If people steal the product from the store, nobody gets arrested, do they?
Not in New York.
It's not proper.
Not in New York.
They don't get arrested when they loot.
Then I think they should go in. You know, I mean, if they loot, it becomes a problem.
He should just govern. That's what he was elected to do. He should govern
for everybody.
For
not
everybody,
just for certain sectors.
Everybody, and he should stay out of these businesses. It's ridiculous.
I agree, Fernando. That's going to have to be the last word. Go ahead, real quick.
He made promises that were bad promises, and he's trying to keep them by taking one candy for a classroom. How do you give one candy to 50 to 100 kids? How do you split it?
It ain't going to work, but it sounds good to your point.
You don't split it. Each one gets a lick.
Yeah, exactly. How sad.
And when the licks run out, then the kids start fighting.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Buckle up. Fernando, thank you. We love you. Thank you for always representing all the great business folks in New York City. Thank you.
Always. Thank you.
Thank you. And you guys, we're going to take a break because there's going to be fireworks tomorrow about Anthony Fauci, and Miranda Devine is going to talk about that after the break.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Cats and Cosby on 77 WABC.
And we are back, you guys. Well, I want to hearken back, first, John, to an interview you did with Anthony Fauci. This is back in January 2020. And let's not forget what he told you in that interview, John. Take a listen.
Is it in China because of all the live animals that are being sold?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, China, among other countries, has a lot of close interaction and contact between people, particularly in crowded places, and what they call wet markets, where there are a lot of live animals that are being sold. And your suggestion, John, is really quite correct, that it's the proximity between people, the population of humans, and animals that could harbor these viruses, where it then jumps species, infects a human, and then humans infect each other.
Well, now we know from Fauci's diaries that he knew that the wet market wasn't the place after all. How about the Wuhan lab down the street? Well, joining us now is Miranda Devine, the great investigative journalist with the New York Post and host of Pod Force One. Miranda, this is a doozy. These diaries, which Rand Paul put out, oh my goodness, they show like he was like totally, it looks like playing America for a fiddle.
Yes, Rita, it really is a despicable reading. And look, I suppose we're not really, those of us who are wise to Anthony Fauci for a long time are not really surprised, but it is instructive to see there starkly in his own voice, in his own words, in his own diary that he never thought would see the light of day, that he just lied about absolutely everything. And, Bobby Kennedy Jr. has just revealed that Dr. Fauci, when he was telling all the rest of us that there was no issue with the vaccines and there was no problem, no risks, he had the vaccine and suffered a pulmonary infarction, which he didn't tell anybody about, which is a known side effect for some people. So everything he talked about, whether it be masking or lockdowns or the origins of COVID. And I remember that interview that John did with Anthony Fauci way back at the very beginning.
That was just about almost the first one.
It was. No, because I was writing about it at the time, and he just did not come across as plausible, and he was contradicting Donald Trump and all the obvious evidence. I mean, we have a lot more evidence since. And, of course, now we know he had a motive for covering up the true origins of COVID, which was, of course, the Wuhan lab.
So, Miranda, let me ask you, tomorrow he is going to be testifying. He has to testify tomorrow. What's he going to say? What is he going to take the fifth, or what's he going to do? He has that pardon, though. Remember, he got a full.
He did. He got
the full pardon from Biden.
Joe Biden.
I'm looking at Michael Cohen, who's here in studio. So the question is, what is he going to say? What do you think tomorrow, Michael?
I don't know what he's going to do, to be honest with you. I think he's going to give the non-responsive type answer, which is basically what he always does. And, these are his thoughts, and he said they don't mean anything. Me personally, I suffer from pulmonary issues. I took all 3 of the COVID vaccinations. Had I known what Fauci put into his diary, maybe it would have given me the information that I needed in order to make a proper determination if I should or should not have taken it.
And he himself had this problem, this health problem, too. I mean, that's the other thing. Judge, go ahead.
Miranda, but you started to make the following point, which is there was a motivation on the part of Fauci to cover up the real origin. Would you explain that to our listeners?
Yes, because he was implicated in the funding of the dangerous gain-of-function research on bat coronaviruses in the Wuhan lab. And the reason that he outsourced it to China was because during the Obama administration, some concerned scientists had come forward and said, this is too dangerous for us to be conducting in labs, in American labs, which are way safer than any Chinese lab. And the Obama administration listened and put a long moratorium on the use of gain-of-function research in America. And so Anthony Fauci was absolutely stubbornly wedded to this type of research. And so through a cutout called EcoHealth Alliance, he outsourced that dangerous research to a subpar lab in Wuhan, China, which also is suspected of being a Chinese bioweapons lab.
And didn't share it, right? Yeah. I mean, the key thing here, too, is that didn't share that.
He lied about it.
Right, he lied. I'm being too kind. You're right. He lied about it, didn't tell anybody. And also, I remember, Judge, we had Peter Navarro here, who was involved in all those discussions, as Michael knows. And he said there was never a time that Fauci told us about the funding with the Wuhan lab, that we kept bringing it up, and he never once brought it up. So, I mean, he consciously avoided not telling the president of the United States and the American public about it. I mean, that's outrageous.
Well, and more than just not telling, he, we now know, was instrumental behind the scenes in ginning up this dishonest scientific paper claiming that it was from the wet market. A pangolin in the wet market was the most likely origin. That was all dishonest. He pretended he had nothing to do with it, but then there were emails shared that showed that he was there, whipping the scientists along. And remember, these scientists owe everything to Dr. Fauci because he had control of all the scientific research grants. So if you did what he wanted, you got a grant. If you didn't, he was vicious and vindictive. You just have to see the way he treated Scott Atlas, who was right about everything, brought in sadly too late into the White House coronavirus task force by Donald Trump, who smelled a rat with Anthony Fauci and Deborah Birx. But Scott Atlas was just vilified, as were Jay Bhattacharya and Martin Kulldorff and
the media, Miranda did a real full court press to discredit those people, to make them look like they were fools,
and made Fauci look like he was like a hero. And now we know from his own diary, it's a whole different story.
Shameful what he did.
Yeah, Miranda, thank you so much. Always great stuff. It's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Maybe he'll be grilled, baked, and skewered. We'll see.
Well, in honor of the anniversary of him being grilled tomorrow, I told our WABC staff, the digital department, I told too, to put out the original Fauci interview.
Yeah.
And distribute it and put it on the WABC website.
Perfect. And we'll see all the contradictions, right? That'll be interesting. What do you think? That was a great interview, John.
Yes.
That was a great one.
6 years ago, 5 years ago.
Wow. Very timely, John. Miranda, thank you very much.
And what do we all stand for? Truth, justice, and the American way. God bless America.
Program about an hour before the polls closed in South Carolina. I've always felt that to be very effective. And he was always excited to come on. He didn't come on that often because I don't ask a lot of politicians to come on that often. But he was always excited. And so when he came on, I guess a month before the election, I talked to him and I said on the air, I said, I'm going to endorse you. Is that going to hurt you? He said, absolutely not. So they actually used it, or he did, in a number of his speeches. And it was a great honor. It was a great honor. So he will be missed. But I posted that he'd be quite amused, I think, by the pack house at the National Cathedral.